So this is the PRI Abduction Lift Test. I'm teaching this to begin in a way that you can use as an exercise to train the specific muscles to help make your body able to move from the left AiC pattern out of that pattern into the right AiC pattern and be able to move side to side with the left AiC and the right AiC patterns. So this is both a test and also an exercise. So I'm teaching it first as something you can use quickly as an exercise. And it's real. The way to make this work is to have the bones in a certain position. That's why it's a little bit pedantic about the position to start with. And then we don't want the bones then to move. So we want the muscles to activate around the bones. So the way we start is you need a 4 to 6 inch bolster. Foam roller is perfect for this. And I'm just showing you this angle first. So the bolster's there. So my ball of my foot is touching the wall. And this setup position is that my knee is higher than my top shoulder. So this first position, if you can't get in this position, it's already a fail. So there's 6 levels to this test. And the first level you can't get into, so maybe it's to do with impingement through here or back pain, something like that. So the first part is to have your foot, knee, hip in the same line. This arm's under the head, this hand's at the level of the chest, because if you change position it'll alter the fulcrum being used, and the wrong muscles that we want to use will be hiding still in your body. Then we want your top foot to be directly above your bottom foot, and we've got that foot on the bolster. So we want this position first, and that your hips are stacked over each other. So I'm not sitting back like this, and I'm not forward like this. Just they're stacked directly on each other, and shoulders are stacked directly on each other. Because doing this will make it easier. Doing this will change things too. So we've got everything stacked. That's the first part. So level 0 is just being able to get into the position that I've just explained. And this top foot here is just parallel to the floor. So it's not turned down, it's not up like this, it's just flat like that. So the first muscle activation is you're just pushing this bottom foot, pushing the bottom foot into the wall. And that's to get what's called obturator hold control on this left side here. So it means that certain muscles are able to hold bones of the pelvis in position to be able to do the rest of the test. So I've got that push there first. And then the second part is that I can push this hip down into the floor, and that gets my left abdominal wall working. So the internal, external oblique on this side, and the adductors, lower abductors on this side too. So that's the first part. Can you make that happen? And what may happen is that you might feel, oh gee, all these muscles start to cramp, or my back I just feel it in my back. That means your body's going to be too until we roll forward here, so there's too much bent forward. So you just make sure you're in this position, everything's stacked properly, no movement of those bones, and aim to get this push of your abdomen, of your pelvis down into the floor, so you feel these muscles here work. That's the first one. And I'm doing that while I've still got a push against the wall with this leg. So I push, and then I push this hip into the floor, so I feel the abdominal wall on this side work. So that's the second level. Keeping all those things together, I lift this knee without my pelvis rolling back. That's the main. That gets my left AiC adductor working here. So I've got the push into the wall, push down with the pelvis down, put the trunk working, then I lift that knee, and I feel here, and often it wants to cramp for people if it's that weak. So that's the third level. Can you make that happen without the pelvis rolling back? The next level here is, can I turn my toes here down the wall without my pelvis moving forward as I do that? So this is really important that you can even get to here. So all these muscles working there, you get to this point. Then the next point here, still get the push in the wall, still got the push down with the hip, this knee lifted up, toes turned down. I can keep that going while I lift that leg off the wall without my pelvis changing any position at all. And then the sixth level is that I can draw that hip or the leg back, keeping the leg straight, which means that my adductor my glute on this side here is able to activate while all these other muscles are doing their stabilizing role. And that's without rolling the hip back, it's without arching the back as well. So that's the exercise. So you do that as an exercise to practice. And I'll go through that one more time. So I've got everything in alignment here. Pelvis stacked on pelvis, shoulder stacked on shoulder. I'm pushing into the wall, pushing the hip down to the floor, feeling just this muscle here working in the abdominal wall, side abdominal wall. Got that push, pull down, lift the knee. So I feel this adductor here work. If you feel the TFL working on this side, that means that you can't go any further with this test. The body's confused, so it thinks that the way that it uses the left AiC adductor, which should be here, the body thinks that it should use this muscle to do that roll, which is a very common thing. So I'm doing that without my pelvis rolling back. And then I'm turning this foot down the wall. So I've still got the heel on the wall, turn that down, so it's purely just internal rotation of the femur. So I've got that without the pelvis rolling forward as I do that. Then can I keep everything and lift that leg off the wall? That's awesome if you can do that. And then can I use my butt, my glute max, to bring that leg back? And that's moving the body into a right AiC pattern. So it's shifted through neutrality and into the shift to the right AiC pattern. And doing reps of that, looking at 10 reps, keeping everything really precise. The reps aren't that important, it's a matter that you can do each section correctly and not feeling it in your back. One example of where if you miss a certain part, when you go to lift your leg off the wall here, if you aren't pushing into the wall with this leg, you'll feel it in your back. As soon as you push down through here, it stabilizes this side of the pelvis, which allows this pelvis to do the right thing that we want with this test. To do more training, like a 2-to-1 ratio of laying on this left side, training that, then lay on the other side, train that, lay on this side, train that again, lay on the other side, train that again, then lay on this side again. So that's 5. But 3 of those times you're laying on your left side. Because the left side, especially this adductor, is so weak, and we want all those muscles to activate to help get you out of the left AiC pattern, and to train the left side more, because there's that fundamental asymmetry where the body's right side loaded and dominant, just because of our neurology and because of the location of our organs, the asymmetrical location of the organs. And there's clips in the playlists on this channel about the left AiC pattern and what it is and why it is. So some key features about this test, especially for PRI therapists, is that this is a inhibitory test. So it's not a facilitatory test. A facilitatory is aiming to make something activate. This one, you're actually inhibiting what's going on this side of the body here by facilitating the left side. And that facilitation comes from push of that foot onto the wall, this foot onto the wall. The pelvis not moving as then the pelvis pushes down to the floor. So get this left abdominal wall working, and then while keeping those 2 stages, you can lift here to engage the AiC adductor. So getting all this facilitated here allows the right thing to happen when I start to turn this leg and also lift and pull back as well. So if someone's having a problem getting into this position, a mistake that they can make is that they've got the leg too bent up, the hips too close to the wall, which means their leg needs to be really high here, which you could do this test if you had the flexibility to get into this position, but it doesn't need to be there. The main thing is that the pelvis is back a little bit, or up away from the wall a bit more, just so the knee's above the shoulder. So that's a key thing there. We don't want the body to be curled forward, and we don't want it to be arched as well. So that's why it's important that the shoulder, hip, and foot is in the same alignment, and then this top foot is above the bottom foot as well. It's really important that there's pressure maintained as you're pushing down through here to keep the obturator foramen, it's called hole control, keeping that maintained, which means that there's a bunch of muscles holding the pelvis on this side in position. When we get into the 4th level, which is where we've got the first ones going. So we've got the push onto the wall. Then I've got the pelvis down, the wall working here on the side abdominal wall, lifting here without the pelvis rocking back. Once I've got that there, and then I turn this leg down, so I have internal rotation, so FAIR, or femoral acetabular internal rotation on this side here, means that this ilium here has to be AFER, which is acetabular femoral external rotation, for that to happen. And the way that happens is by this side here remaining in AFIR, which is acetabular femoral internal rotation on this side, which is what we're aiming to do to get the body out of the left AiC pattern. Then once we are able to do all that, hold all that there and lift that off, there's a major game change here. So we've just shifted from a neutral position into the right AiC pattern. And then when we can add here, we're getting the glute max involved. Can the glute max act while all these other muscles are activating to get essentially a push off in gait. So this is a gait test. How far in the gait cycle can the person move to get out of the left AiC pattern into the right AiC pattern. So this is done on both sides. This is test on both sides, and it's trained on both sides too.